How's it going, everyone? Tom Bellotti, most famous person you've never heard of. Welcome back to my blog. In this point of my life, I'm living in Gravesend, Brooklyn. It's about 6 blocks away from Coney Island Beach. I'm living with my friend Kook from Gas NYC, music band. Things are going okay, but work is a little bit slow. At the time, I'm basically living off of unemployment. Um, and it's a luxury apartment, so rent's a little bit high. And after a little bit of time of not speaking with my father George, it's been about 7 years. He and I have a little bit of a dialogue. We start opening up. Every now and then he would come by my house on his bicycle because I got him into cycling a couple of years back, and we would go for a little bike ride over on the boardwalk. And the bike he had at the time was a mountain bike, and compared to my Fuji team back there, is basically like comparing a Mack truck to a Lamborghini. So I didn't really want to go for far rides with him because he can't keep up with the kind of speed that I have. And but at the same time, I just want to go for some small rides with him, just to open up a dialogue with him again. And one of these days when we're out riding, he asked how things were going. I basically let him know things are a little bit slow with work. Most all my money is going to rents, and I can't really afford to do much else. And he offers me my old apartment in his building over there on 42nd Street, 8th Avenue. And I'm reluctant because of some stuff that happened, 7 years prior. I'm sorry, but there's going to be a lot of this in my blog, which is stories within a story. This is my life, and I can't really just jump off the base and start talking about that. We've got, it's going to be a lot of times where we're putting a little pin in something, and I'll be getting back to it. So everyone pay attention for those things, and maybe if it's driving you crazy so much, make a request and ask to hear the rest of that story. All right. Now, I'm reluctant to do to take him up on his offer, and I also don't want to leave Kook high and dry without a roommate because again, rent is expensive, and I don't want him to lose the apartment. So I mentioned it with Kook, after a week or two, and Kook was like, "Yeah, go for it. If you can get free rent for a year, that would help you out quite a bit." And he let me know that he would have someone else that would want to rent out the room. So he wouldn't really be losing anything from it. So yeah, about to get a good timeline on it, it was around October, towards the end of October. It was 2 weeks. I moved in, and then 2 weeks after that, Hurricane Sandy hit. For those of you who don't know what Hurricane Sandy was, I'll try and add some footage to some of the water that was rushing in all over the city. The city was in rough shape after Hurricane Sandy. Fortunately for us, when we were living over there at 42nd Street, 8th Avenue, and people in the surrounding area, our electricity didn't really go out. We just had the flickering lights a little bit because in that area, it's very up high on a hill. It's actually the highest point in Brooklyn. Right. So after living there for about 2 months, I was just reinvesting the money that I would have been spending on rent into other items that I had that were stolen or that I've lost. For instance, like a new weight set. I got a full Olympic gym for the first time. I've always had like steel weights, in my house, but never the full Olympic bar that, something I've always wanted. So I had a nice Gold's Gym bench and an Olympic bar set up, and, working out like crazy, riding my bike all the time, every day, getting into better shape. And so fortunately, some work happened. I started getting some work in. I remember when I was there, my father, he had changed a lot of the plumbing that was done to the building. When I was living there before, 7 years ago, I basically helped renovate the whole building. I did all the drywall, tile work, some minor plumbing, but actually there was a lot of major plumbing that went on in the building, and he took away the boiler system, and he put individual boilers in everyone's apartments. And since I've left and I was gone for 7 years. Now I'm back. Those individual boilers, the heat makers, are no longer in these apartments. It looks like he had just set up these outdoor open flame gas heaters into the apartments, and he had a flexi pipe going through a hole in the wall to where the original plumbing was. Now in New York City, this is a major violation, and it's an incredible health risk to everyone involved that's in there or in the vicinity of that building, because it could cause an explosion, and several buildings have exploded over here because of the same type of environment. Well, he asked me if I want to take all of the baseboards that are in the building to the scrapyard and cash them in for scrap metal. Now, this would have been pretty lucrative for me, and I'm sure, of course, he would have wanted a cut. He was just acting as if I can get the whole thing. And he asked why. I told him because eventually you've got to make this right here again. You can't have heat in the way these apartments, the way it is right now. You know, the building was relatively empty at the time, so there was no tenants. So there was not really anyone at risk. I was the one person renting that apartment, and I knew not to use that heater for my heat needs. You know, as I'm living there in the apartment, George he's kind of driving me crazy. He's always coming into my place, never knocking, sometimes even bringing other people with him. And, you know, I've got a lot of valuable stuff, instruments, music, equipment, various tools. I just don't want anyone looking and seeing what my belongings are. I just yell at them right in front of these people. Like, who are you bringing these people into my house? You know, and you don't even knock. Bring them into your place. Show them everything that you have. Why are you bringing these people over here all the time? And I just let them know that these people aren't really welcome, so don't come thinking that you're going to come over here and get a welcome. This isn't that type of thing. You're coming here to my house uninvited. Just because he's the one bringing you in here doesn't mean that I necessarily want you here. And I would always make my point known. But he wouldn't really get it through to his head. He's just, yeah, no accountability, basically. You know, and I would have to go through this several times when he would bring another person in. And I knew that that would be the last time, because although he is so rude, he wouldn't respect the person's wishes, I made it a fact that the other people, in fact, would. So, you know, I've dealt with this guy for a long time, too. So I know what he's like, and I've got a thick skin with him. And it is, you know, as far as I'm concerned, he's basically harmless. He can't abuse me anymore. I'm far too big for that. That's been the case for a long time at this point. One night, I'm out. I'm having a nice night out. I can afford to, you know, go out and have a few drinks. And when I go out drinking and I'm taking my vehicle with me, I only have one beer an hour. The only thing that will get you sober when you're out drinking is time, not eating some food or having water or drinking up a cup of coffee. The only thing that will make you sober is time. And there's a formula for that between your weight and the blood alcohol content. Know what your weight is and know what that blood alcohol content is for you, so you can go out and drink responsibly. I have no sympathy for people who get DUIs, because you can hurt someone, not only hurt yourself. So I'm out. I'm at Duff's, and you know, it's nice. It's a pretty crowded night. I'm chilling out, and I notice this young girl, and you know, she's pretty hot. I'm at the bar, about to get myself a drink, but I see that she's been standing there for a while and she's not getting any service. So I'm well known over there, and the bartenders know me. I've been hanging out there for a while. So I just hold my finger above her head and, you know, snap and point to her. And the bartender comes to her right away and gives her beer, and I go ahead and I do my thing. I guess that got her attention to me. We start talking for a little bit, and yeah, we go home. And it turned out the next day I found out it was actually her 20th birthday that she was celebrating. And I guess she chose to hang out with me, which is pretty cool. And that's not the first time that's happened to me before. That's actually happened to me 3 times before that. I guess a gift to women? Anina was here from Liechtenstein, and she was on a student visa. She was learning English, and her English was already pretty good. She learned a great deal of it from watching Friends and in Liechtenstein, which I hear is a pretty common story. A lot of people overseas learn English from specifically watching Friends. I guess maybe I should give that show a shot, but not. But at the time, she was staying at Flatbush, and if you're coming from a place like Liechtenstein, Germany, where basically everything is very predominantly European, and you're in the heart of Flatbush. For those of you who don't know about Flatbush Book Run, it's what we would consider the hood. Now, I've lived there the times before in my life, Bed-Stuy, Flatbush. You know, I feel at home anywhere, and any neighborhood is a good neighborhood as far as I'm concerned. But when you have someone that's not used to that element, she can feel a little bit uncomfortable. So she's addressing this to me. Not that she felt uncomfortable there, but she mentioned how she's here learning English, and the way that people talk with the slang over there is hurting the English that she's learning, because she's picking up those habits. And she was like, I thought that this was only in the movies that people spoke like that. And I'm like, no, it's actually the movies get it from the street. It's not the other way around. And so I enjoyed her company and her time, so I asked her if she wanted to stay with me. And after a few days, she moved in with me. At work, and I tell Hercules that I just got this young girl come and stay with me. She's like it's actually the perfect girl. She's here for a little bit and leaving in 3 weeks. During the day, I had work. I was doing some marble work at a low-income housing projects in Jamaica, Queens. I had my buddy Phil Beater working with me as my helper, and I was doing a contract for Hercules Marble. I've done work for Hercules in the past, back when I was like 19 years old. I was his foreman doing the Scarsdale High School. But now at this time, I'm working for him as a subcontractor. When I had Anita staying with me, I told him about it, and he said right away that your father's going to hit on her. Now I objected, like, nah, he's a pretty low down person. He's got, he's not a person that you expect much from. But I didn't think he would, hit on this 20-year-old girl that his son is sleeping with. I mean, I'm feeling guilty enough myself, but she picked me up, and women in Europe are a lot more mature than women here in the United States. Sorry, U.S. girls, but it's just the facts. And so when I went home that day, she gets home before I do, and she told me about an interaction she had with George, and sure enough, he was hitting on her. Well, George, like I told you before, he lived in Germany for quite a while, so he has a thing for German women. My mom has German heritage, and that's probably one of the reasons why he liked her as well. Now, but Anita speaks German, so who knows? Maybe he just couldn't control himself because, she's from Germany. So the next day, I had to eat those words to Hercules and let him know that indeed that George did hit on her. This is pretty insane. And he was like, I told you so. He didn't doubt it for 1 second. He knew it was going to happen. But it was more than just that. He was harassing her. After a day or two of her being there, he was starting to demand to want a copy of her passport. Asking her these things. And she was, going to give it to him. She's speaking to me over the phone. I'm like, no. Do not give this person your passport. But to pacify him, get a copy of your passport and give it to him. She asked me why I wouldn't want to give him the passport. I said, I know him. I said, he will keep your passport, try to say that you owe him rent because you're staying there with me. And if you don't pay him, he won't give you back your passport. That's the only reason why he would want it. So in order to pacify him and still protect her at the same time, I just told her to give him a copy. So now he's got a copy of the passport, and because where she comes from in Liechtenstein, she doesn't get a stamp on her passport for whatever reason, but they don't stamp it in that area. And because she doesn't have a stamp, he's thinking that she's over here illegally, all this and that. And now he starts calling me up at work, saying I got to get rid of her because I'm harboring a terrorist, and he's going to call Homeland Security. I mean, these things are just laughable, but it would happen quite often. And when it would happen at work, I knew what he was calling about. I just put it on speakerphone, and I would laugh about it with my helper. And in the end, I'd just say, I can't have this conversation. You're crazy. Just and click, hang up the phone, not deal with it, and put my phone in my pocket and carry on with work. But after a few days of him harassing her, she wants to leave. She sees that what's going on over there. Things are a little bit harder on me with him because of her presence there, and I didn't want her to leave when I enjoyed her company, and I didn't want, because of the way him acting, for her to leave. I mean, this can happen with any woman that I chose to have come over there, and this infects my love life, and I simply just wouldn't want to bring women over there again in the future if this happened. So I told her that I would change the locks on the door so he can't come in there and bother you anymore. So that day I went to the hardware store, I got new locks, I changed the locks, and the very next day I get a call from George saying, why did I change the locks? Now, he didn't know that I knew that he was going in there all the time and harassing Anina, because I didn't really speak to him about it or say anything. It'd be pointless anyway, because he's not reasonable. You can't really talk to a reasonable. You can speak to a reasonable person and try to come to an agreement, but with a person who's not reasonable, there's no coming to any type of a conclusion with someone like that. And that's who this person is. And it's unfortunate that I put myself in that situation to deal with him, and I can handle that because I've been dealing with him for years, but to subject someone else to it is something I just can't stand for. So I changed the locks again. So he calls me up, asks me why I changed the locks. So right away I ask him, why would you know that? How would you know that I changed the locks? He doesn't have anything to say, and basically I cut the phone call short, because he started getting that whole rhetoric of harboring a terrorist again. And I'm not listening to this kind of crazy stuff. At this point I'm just telling him, you need therapy, you need to get on some meds. And about 5 minutes later, I get a call from Anina, and it turns out that when he tried to get in there to the house, and when he found out the locks have been changed, Anina was in the shower. Now, when you're in the ground floor of the building, you can hear the water running through the pipes, and so he obviously knew that she was in the shower at that time. And there's no lock on the door to my bathroom. So what his intentions were, I don't know, but I can tell you one thing: they weren't honorable, And I don't know if he was just going to take a look at her, or if he was going to physically assault her. Whatever the case may be, I'm just glad that I changed the locks so that didn't happen. There was Anita once told me that because I had this large mirror outside of my bathroom door that was from floor to ceiling. When she came out of the bathroom before, she jumped out of her skin when she saw it, because she actually thought that was George that was in the apartment building, and that's how much this person was bothering her, that she was on edge from that. So again, I'm grateful that I changed the locks and she didn't have to deal with that and being in that vulnerable position. Now, you may have noticed that I've got no music playing on these video right here. God damn it. Boo boo, you took off and you freaking threw me off, alright? Why'd you do that? Right when I'm talking, you're leaving, you fucked me all up. Come on, boo boo, come on up here. Come on. Good girl. No, why don't you get off here? Go over there. What is this? Who's got Mr. Happy?
Doesn't want to be on camera.
Go get him. Yeah, alright. Now I can talk. Okay. So, you may have noticed on this video I have no music playing. Now, I'm not getting quite the audience that I think I should with a YouTube algorithm, because it's playing my videos to people who necessarily listen to music, and I know that there's a broader audience for people who do this blog stuff like I'm doing right here. So I'm gonna be doing it without the music for a while. And just so you know, that everyone that I did have playing on here was a personal friend of mine, and I had their direct permission to play their music. And I'm sorry for anyone that was on my set list that I did not quite get to yet, but I'm trying to do what is best for me and my channel right now. And I wish that I could have kept playing my friends' music, because I did enjoy helping my friends as well. But I come first. Sorry.